Hi, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Resources of the Week, which is coming in line with our Dietitian Takeover. So here with me, we have Vivian, who is the Dietitian Extraordinaire at Mindscape Psychology and Allied Health in Leichhardt in Sydney. So welcome, Viv, and thanks for taking some time out to do this interview with me.
Hello. Hi, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm really pleased that we could make this time. This is awesome. So I wanted to sort of start by asking about what people can expect from your food philosophy. And I know that's such a broad question, but if you could tell us a little bit about how you think and feel about food.
Okay. Well, I guess firstly as a dietitian, but also as someone who really loves food, I just think food is beautiful and it brings so many wonderful things together, whether it's physical health or mental health or social health. And I understand that food can be complicated in lots of reasons for many different reasons for lots of different people. But I guess the way I see food ideally is the way it actually nourishes and actually helps as a social glue. I guess you can put it that way. But also obviously then enjoying food is very important, and it's very important to be part of the process. So whether that looks like things in moderation or what we call, well, what I like to call is balance. So actually having a balanced perspective in all the different diverse areas of eating or, just nutrition in general. I guess that's my philosophy, and just have fun with it, really.
That sounds awesome. So I'm interested in how you think about that connection between our body and the food that we're consuming and the relationship with mental health and well-being.
Well, I guess a lot of our clients can testify that is actually linked no matter how we try to separate it out. So not only do we not only does our nutrition or what we eat affect our mental health, but our mental health then also often directs or not dictates the way we eat. So I think then the way it links can either be relatively more positive. So, we've got the eating well and nourishing our body. I noticed you feel this really positive feeling, or you feel like
for a second.
More.
The connection just went a bit funny. So sorry about that. You were talking about the link between body and mental health.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I think there's two different, different ideas, but they're actually so linked that it's so hard to separate most of the time. And a lot of our clients can tell you that. So we've got one side where, maybe eating a certain way where you actually don't eat and listen to your body, and that makes you feel very uncomfortable, and that can relate to worsening mental health, whether you're more stressed or whatever it might be. But at the same time, that stress can then influence the way you eat. So you think, I'm really stressed, I'm really sad or depressed or whatever you're feeling at that time. Definitely. And that can immediately affect the way you eat. But at the same time, there's obviously a positive light. So if you are eating and really enjoying your foods, nourishing your bodies with a whole different range of colors and food groups and all these things, that can actually more likely than not impact on what's, positive mindset, actually really enjoying your social interactions and actually really then enjoying your strong body and knowing that you are looking after your body very well as well.
Awesome. So we hear a lot about this idea of a person's relationship with food. What does that mean for you, and how do you feel like you can help a person to have a healthy relationship with food?
Yeah, so I guess the way I look at that with the relationship with food is actually, how would you look at your friend? So we talk about relationships. So with all relationship, there is a give and take. So your relationship with food is not just all about taking. So what that might look like is just, mindless eating, where you actually don't appreciate the food and where you actually just eat because it's there or whatever else it might be, which is very common. Not saying that it's not, but it might just then, because of that lack of investment in this relationship, it might actually then result in things that are less positive in the results. But whereas if you think of a friend and the same relationship you think of with food, you actually, I guess, mindfully notice that in front of your plate. You actually mindfully enjoy the process of being with the food, or even really being with friends and the food at the same time. Then I think that relationship can grow, and you actually get a lot more benefit out of it in the long run.
So things like how you treat the food, how you prepare the food, how you might plan some of your meals, all of that investment into that relationship means that you can have more of a positive relationship with food. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, obviously there needs to be a balance. So if you think of your friend and you overinvest in them and you over rely on them. So if you're stressed, you go to your food, or your friend, if you're feeling sad, you go to your food. Again, that might not be the best way to go about things. And that might also inform this relationship and create some unhealthy, I guess, habits around it. So it's about finding that balance. And you do have this middle ground and this healthy relationship with food. I guess that's what I mean. It's this middle ground where you give and you take both ways.
Lovely. Excellent. Cool. So I'm sort of thinking about other kinds of clients that you might see. So I know that you see a lot of kids, and you see a lot of kids who experience fussy eating. And fussy eating, you know, a lot of the time kids don't have that, little kids especially, don't have that control over what they're eating. It's sort of given to them by their parents. So how do you support fussy eaters and also the parents of fussy eaters?
I think, fussy eating is such an interesting and actually really difficult and can be very stressful kind of experience that families go through. And I guess how I see it is that a lot of the times kids may they may display behaviors which look like they're either being naughty or just not listening to parents, but often what's probably happening behind the scenes is a lot more complex than we think. So eating actually is one of the most difficult things we do as human beings. It involves lots of really fine motor skills. It involves all our sensories, you know, all the food on our face and our teeth and our mouth. So it can be very overwhelming for kids who do struggle with different sensory properties or whatever else might be happening. So I guess my role then in supporting the parents is to actually help parents feel like they are in control, and even though it might be really stressful, finding little strategies that we can do at home just to tweak things as well. So I also, as a dietitian, also want to make sure that they're getting enough nutrition, but also the nutrition that helps them grow the best. So whether it might be for their bowels or for kind of the different mineral and vitamin content of the food, so that they do can concentrate and they're not grumpy and tired all the time as well.
Awesome. And so getting them to actually start enjoying their food and building that really positive relationship with food, I think is something that you do as part of your SOS feeding therapy work. Could you tell us a little bit about SOS feeding therapy?
Yeah, so SOS actually stands for Sequential Oral Sensory Approach to Feeding. So what it is in the title. So it's actually introducing food in a way that's in a sequence, I guess, and in a way that's non-threatening. So stress is the last thing we want in SOS. We want our kids to really enjoy the process. We want our kids to feel like they are in control, that they're in control of trying new things, exploring new things. And when I say explore or try, it's not particularly just about putting it in your mouth and tasting it. So it's a whole range of sensory play. So whether it's touch, whether it's smell, sound, taste, and getting it all over your body. So I guess in SOS at Mindscape in particular, we try to make it fun. But at Mindscape, we try to, I guess, implement some home strategies initially, see what we can fix at home and try to tweak a few things there. And then we bring it into clinic as well, which is then when we do the food play, where we actually get the parents involved, get any siblings involved as well, playing with the food, and then also actually learning about food, and also in a very non-stressful environment. And hopefully that's after a few periods of time, that's when they actually feel more confident to take that into control.
Awesome. I guess from a psychological perspective, it sounds a little bit like exposure therapy for the sensory needs of the child with food. Would you say that it's sort of in that same vein? Oh, I think we've cut
Yeah,
out.
absolutely. It's exposure theory without any.
Okay.
Okay.
No, we're fine.
So it's the same. Yeah, it's absolutely. It's desensitization over time, but without without any stress at all in this. I guess in the whole process. That's the main aim.
Fantastic. Awesome. So as we are a mental health based clinic, we do see a few, more serious presentations. So things like eating disorders or disordered eating, and that might, be in various kinds of forms. So things like, severely restricted eating or binge eating, and sometimes even purging. How would you support some of those clients who are experiencing fairly severe mental health issues that really impact on and are sort of maintained by their eating issues?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very tricky area, and it's also one area that I guess I've seen causes the most stress and anxiety among my clients. So the most important thing, I guess, just to put out there is that we do take a multidisciplinary approach where we do want to get different health professionals involved. So we've got the psychologists here, but we also want to make sure we're linked in with the GPs or whoever else is working with this person. So the main reason for this is we want to make sure this person is safe. We want to make sure that whatever is happening, that they know where to go to for help and support. So that's just the caveat, I guess, to place out there. In terms of my work specifically, again, it's a little bit about that, building that relationship and building a positive relationship with whatever normalized eating looks like for that person and what they want to do with that kind of goal. So a lot of the time we do talk together and set realistic expectations, time frames as to what they want to achieve. So whether or not that's, working on food rules that might be in place, whether it's actually reducing frequency of binging or purging, and actually then coming to accept different challenges in facing the barriers of the disordered eating or the eating disorder, and recognizing that it's actually really hard and that probably needs a little bit more social support around them. So also putting those strategies in place.
Fantastic. And it sounds like a really lovely, holistic sort of approach to these sorts of things where, we do need to get a lot of other people involved in the support network and care team of that person. So I'm wondering, if I was a client and it was my first time coming in to see you, what can I expect walking in for my first session?
Well, I guess what you do expect, hopefully, is that you do feel comfortable when you first meet me and that you do feel it is a safe space. So what we open at the same time, not to be pressured into being open. So having always that, I always like to let my clients know that they can stop telling me about something if they feel overwhelmed or uncomfortable. But at the same time, there is no judgment, and that is very open here, and that you can tell me anything and I can only try to help you and not, I guess, make a judgment on whatever is going on. So I guess then what it might look like the first time we go through like questions, background information, family history, medications, all that kind of medical, more clinical things. But then we also move on to what's called a diet history. So that's when I ask you what you generally have in the week, and then we work through and unpack, because we know that eating and food is so difficult to quantify. Unpack as best as we can what happens with the week, and also then work on some strategies which are directed by the client themselves. So what you want to achieve and also what you think is realistic. And I'm just here really to maybe identify some areas which I think may need a bit of work that you haven't quite identified, or maybe I'm just really there just as a bouncing board or suggest strategies that maybe you haven't thought of before. So hopefully I'm as like a supportive role, and you see me as someone who is there to help and listen.
That sounds awesome. It sounds like a wonderfully collaborative process. And it sounds like you sort of have the role of a facilitator that's really just helping that person get to where they want to be and get to have the kind of life that they want to have. So thank you so much for the work that you do. I know that all of our clients who have come to see you have really appreciated their time with you. And I'm really hoping that, you know, we can continue having this amazing multidisciplinary and collaborative approach going into the future. So thanks everybody for watching today, and thanks for getting involved with our dietitian takeover. Viv, it's been really lovely having you on the interview. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for checking in. See you guys.
Awesome. Thanks guys, and we'll see you next week for some more resources. Take care. Bye.